Every day, millions of people watch billions of videos on social media platforms. Some people who produce these videos do nonsense to attract attention and become famous. In other words, it has become commonplace today to be disgraced for the sake of being famous. It is even called Herostratus syndrome. In short, it's a mindset like, let me be famous no matter what. The person who gave this syndrome its name was Herostratus, probably the most retarded person in history. Here is the story of Herostratus, who single-handedly destroyed one of the 7 wonders of the world to become famous. The Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the world. The Lydian king Croesus, famous for his wealth, spared no expense and started its construction in Ephesus in the years before Christ. It took exactly 120 years to build. Countless artists and architects worked on its construction. Sculptors competed with each other to have their works placed in this temple by displaying their most beautiful workmanship. In the end, a masterpiece, one of the 7 wonders of the world and the pride of ancient Greece, was born. The temple was 115 meters long, 55 meters wide, and consisted of 127 marble columns, each 18 meters high. Merchants and visitors to Ephesus could not hide their astonishment at such a gigantic structure. Even the ancient Greek poet Antipater of Sidon described the majesty of the temple as follows. I saw the walls of proud Babylon, over which chariots passed, the statue of Zeus in Alpheus, the hanging gardens, the colossus of the sun, and the colossal workmanship of the high pyramids and the vast tomb of Mausolus. But when I saw the house of Artemis built on the clouds, all other wonders lost their luster, and I said, behold, outside Olympus, the sun has never looked upon anything so immense. The Temple of Artemis was their most sacred shrine, which almost everyone in ancient Greece gazed upon with love, except for one person. His name was Herostratus. Herostratus was an ordinary lower-class man living in Ephesus. He was not rich or noble, but was considered on the lowest rungs of society, doomed to be forgotten. He was obsessed and wanted to be famous. He even wanted to get his name in the history books and be remembered for centuries. Since he had no money, status, or talents, he had to perform an act that everyone would remember him for. So, just to become famous, he decided to burn down the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the world, right next to him. Thus, the whole world would recognize the man who destroyed such beauty, and his name would be remembered for centuries. On the night of July 21st, 356 BC, Herostratus secretly entered the temple. Although the temple was mostly built of marble, the joints, some of the decorations, and the roof were made of wood. Herostratus ignited these wooden parts, and soon the Temple of Artemis turned into a giant fireball. The fire illuminated the darkness, and the huge columns carrying the temple fell one by one. Indeed, the Temple of Artemis, built over 120 years ago with the labor of thousands of people, was destroyed within an hour by the stupid act of a man who wanted to be famous. Herostratus was immediately captured by the guards. The people of Ephesus were furious and wanted to lynch Herostratus on the spot. but it was decided to hold a public trial. During the trial, when Chief Judge Cleon asked Herostratus why he had done this, Herostratus replied, "I burned down the Temple of Artemis all by myself. I could not share this victory with others. I went through all the steps of fear one by one. I lived each stage to the bone, and it was over. The first was the fear I felt when I first thought about what I was doing. But that fear faded away because I knew I was going to get glory and fame. Second, it caught me inside the temple. I was smearing pitch on the walls and lighting them with kindling. A few strokes took that fear away too. The third was the worst. The temple was on fire. The ceiling was crackling. The pillars were toppling, and the marble was crumbling. People were screaming and tearing their hair out and coming to see the fire I had lit. I got over it quickly. I stood on a mound next to the burning temple, and I shouted, "Hey, listen to me. I burned this temple. I, Herostratus." They heard me, and suddenly they were silent. There was only the sound of the burning temple. Then they started coming toward me. Those faces. I saw the flames in their eyes. That's when I felt the fourth fear, the fear of death. And that was the weakest, because I don't believe in death. I am Herostratus. I burned the Temple of Artemis. My name will be remembered through the ages. But you, Chief Justice Cleon, who will remember you? What Herostratus did in court was not a defense, but a challenge to history. Of course, he was sentenced to death, but that could not be a sufficient punishment for him. He needed not to achieve his goal, that is, that his name should never be mentioned again. For this, the damnatio memoriae was applied. In other words, his name would be erased from all records, and those who mentioned his name would be punished with death. Thus, the name of Herostratus was tried to be erased from history. However, the Greek historians Theopompus and Strabo did not overlook such a great event in their works and noted the name Herostratus in history. In time, this prohibition was forgotten, and the name of Herostratus has survived until today. The burning of the Temple of Artemis also caused the people of Ephesus to question their religious values. For years, the people of Ephesus questioned why the goddess Artemis did not protect her temple. Finally, they found a logical answer. On the night of July 21st, 356 BC, when the Temple of Artemis burned down, Alexander the Great was born. The goddess Artemis was also a midwife, so the Ephesians thought that she had gone to Alexander's birth that night, and that was why she could not protect the temple. When Alexander visited here at the age of 23, he learned about this event and wanted to rebuild the temple, feeling indebted. But the Ephesians did not accept this. Only a few columns have survived from the Temple of Artemis, which was destroyed and rebuilt 7 times throughout history.